Server.
We
Go for
are.
it, sir. Go for it. Go
Yeah,
for it.
I'll get swap nose back.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of tech stack, so I think running the whole cold email setup, extremely cheap, extremely affordable. And whenever I look at it, it's like a lot of these tools on the market, I haven't personally tested, but they are cheaper, and I've seen like a lesser results in network with some of the people using some of the tools. Not going to name names because I know not all tools are, some tools are better, some tools are worse. I don't want to throw shade at any specific tool because I haven't used any of them personally and haven't critiqued them. But I just have seen as a whole, as a trend, SMTPs on average perform worse than Google's and Microsoft's. And so I would rather pay the $7 a month, get the proper Google inboxes, and just run it the clean way. So I'm not going to speak to specifically MailScale, what was the other, MailForge, Informamail. I know there's a lot of these tools, but I haven't used, I haven't split test all of them compared to each other, so I can't speak to that directly.
Awesome. Sorry for that. I think I dropped off for a minute. There was like
Yeah.
a bit of a glitch for the net, but I got most of what you said. Uh,
I can lead with the next question.
Yeah, go for
While
it.
you get your composure back. I want to talk about when you assess your positive replies, and we'll get into, I think, there's a lot of stuff we want to pick from your brain, right? Because you're already a coach, you teach people stuff, so you know a bunch of things that people fail at, right? But before going into the whole how do I get me a lead, let's maybe talk about from the other side. When you assess your positive replies across clients, what's common ground do you find here? Is it like the lead source? Is it the copy? Is it things like, maybe people have hit a recent conference and you've got like such strong relevance that, it's led to that deal?
Yeah, I would say positive replies among clients there, and I would say as campaigns as a whole, campaign success, there's three main things that I think drive campaign success. The first one is having like an extremely good lead magnet. If you're giving away something for free, if your offer is extraordinarily good, if you're selling something that's kind of a no-brainer, like, hey, I'm going to give you a free this or that, like free trial, anything that's free, that performs phenomenally well. Those get tons of positive replies. The next thing I would say is very, very high intent triggers. So if you are, let's say you're selling, I don't know, like an e-commerce email marketing service, and you're in a coaching group with a bunch of people with e-commerce related brands, and you send an email to them, you said, hey, I noticed we're in the same group. Here's my service that is directly applicable to you. That also crushes. That's one of the best things I've seen for positive replies. So some really strong lead magnet, really strong like resonance, like you're targeting, and the trigger that you're using has very high intent. Or the third thing is volume. If you just push a ton of volume, you're going to see a ton of positive replies. And so I'd say those are the three main buckets. It's either like you have a very, very, very strong offer, you have a very strong trigger pool of people to reach out to that has a high relevance with your offer, and the last piece is, yeah, just run a ton of volume. There's a lot of guys, I'm sure, probably a couple of them are in this webinar. They are sending, tons of volume. And whenever I say tons of volume, I'm talking 5,000, 10,000, plus emails a day. Like it's impossible to lose whenever you're doing that type of stuff. But yeah.
Pure math game. Absolutely right. Something, do you want to jump in? Do you want me to take
No,
over?
I do want to jump in. There's a very interesting question in the chat, actually. Right. And I think, Matt, you're the right person to answer this question. If you're getting 1% reply rate after 1,000 leads sent, what would you do at that point?
Yeah, so I would go, there's multi steps going through. So I would quantify like deliverability. If I'm looking at something and I'm like, where is the deliverability going wrong? Where's something going wrong? I don't track open rates personally because I, err on the side of caution with everything. But when it comes to reply rates, whenever I see something that's like below 2% after the campaign has like sent a fair amount of results, if you do it in like one day, sometimes you get a couple snagglers that take time to respond. But if you're getting 1,000 or 1% reply rate after 1,000 leads sent, and assuming this is across the course of a few days or a couple weeks, then I would assume that there's probably a delivery issue, or the leads you're reaching out to are very like non-targeted. So the first thing I would assess on the deliverability side, check your warm-up scores. I'd say that's level one. On Smartlead, check to see if anything's like sub 100%. To me, that's a sign that there could be something going wrong. If any of your emails are, getting some sort of variance, it's just something to keep note of. The second thing I would check is your bounce rates. Make sure your bounce rates are healthy. Sub 5%, I would say, is like a good benchmark or KPI. Third thing I would do is remove all links, images, any sort of baggage that you have in your emails. I have seen time and time again that people will run a campaign and you go from like having terrible results or very, very low delivery results to removing one link, just going from one link to 0 links, and the campaign completely turns around. Like I had a client, they were getting I wish I had a screenshot of their master inbox. Like I had it set up in Google where it was just bounce after bounce after bounce. It was all soft bounces and it all said email rejected, marked as spam. The second we removed their Calendly link, because they had their Calendly link in their signature, the next day everything disappeared. Everything went back to normal. We went from like 1 positive reply a week to like 3 in a day. Right. So it was like absolutely completely different results. So I would double check your delivery, double check that you are not sending, like, if you're starting to see poor results, I remove anything that could possibly ever compromise deliverability, because deliverability is like the #1 forefront thing you want to be optimizing for. And if all else fails, you're doing everything properly, double check your lead source, make sure the people you're reaching out to like click through. Is this actually the people that I'm intending to reach out to? Like check the lead quality. If all that else fails, then I would just restart and create new inboxes. So it's like you go down all the different rabbit holes of deliverability, lead lists. But at the end of the day, if you're getting 1% reply rate, something is probably wrong on the deliverability side, or your targeting is just off pretty hard. So that's what I would do. I would just go through, go very, very safe on the delivery side, and then also double check the leads. But if all else fails, just create new inboxes.
Awesome. Matt, I think this is probably the first officers where we've got like a shit ton of questions
I
flowing,
know.
right? Like this is
Yeah.
insane. So what we're going to do, we're going to make it fair for the audience, right? We're just going to quickly move on to the next segment, which is the trends in the cold email space. Because once you've set up your infrastructure, once you have the right tech stack, once you have your offer nailed down and you have your copy ready, the next best thing is pushing that out, right? And as an agency, what really helps, and something that we've also observed, is your onboarding process, right? It's how you onboard your clients, because you need to know everything about them to make sure not only are you crafting the right offer, but you're making sure to reach out to the right set of audiences for them, right? So we probably talk a bit about that and about certain trends that you're observing and experimenting with for Anevo right now. And immediately after, we're going to open the floor for the audience so that everybody gets their questions answered.
Awesome. Yeah, so first diving in, I'll talk a little bit about onboarding and stuff. This is probably helpful for agencies or especially lead gen agencies. Way on onboard clients, the first thing we do whenever a client signs, pays, starts the contract with us, we immediately send out an onboarding email, get them set up in Slack, and give them very clear next steps. I'd say this is really crucial for client relationship. Like just like if you go to Amazon and you pay money to Amazon, without them, it takes a day or two to get the package, but they give you confirmation immediately. Hey, thank you for signing. Super excited to get started. You know, in the case of Amazon, your package is on the way. In the case of an agency service, we get them on board, we get them ready, we give them all the necessary next steps. In terms of like collecting data from customers, or, you know, this is useful even to people not running agencies, freelancers, if you're doing this for yourself. What are the main points that need to be in consideration to run a successful campaign? We collect data on like very, very deep market research. So a couple of things that we do, we learn a little bit more about high-level ICP, targeting, headcount, job titles, industries, the different like verticals, subsections. We also learn about case studies, social proof. What are the different pieces that you guys can basically flex that shows that you're different from other people in the market? And then we also, you know, learn a little bit more about competitors, learn a little bit more about other people that we can model from, see what your unique selling propositions are. And then at that point, once we collect data, we just throw out a couple ICPs, throw out a couple strategies, and then you just have to take it to market to ultimately test. I would say onboarding process-wise, for all the different agencies, lead gen agencies, just make sure you have a defined process. This will help a lot with retention. It'll help a lot with keeping your customers happy, and will really help the phase of, wow, this person, you know, you have to think from their POV. They just sent you thousands of dollars potentially, and they want to know the next steps. Like if I send $30 to Amazon and I'm not getting a confirmation my package is on the way, I'm freaking out, right? For a $30 thing. So let alone the $1,000 agency services. Next question. What was the next part of that question? So you talked about onboarding and then you said trends in the lead gen space.
Yep.
I would say trends is that the first big trend is that more and as time comes on, more and more and more cold emails getting adopted, especially the mass, like high scale strategies. This is becoming more commonplace that people are adapting to the stuff that all the gurus and everyone's been saying for a while. I would say that the big trends now and then going forward is doing more trigger-based campaigns, doing more offer lead magnet campaigns, and doing more volume. So going back to what I said in the earlier part of the webinar, of like, what are the 3 things that I see that make really successful campaigns? The trends are just doing more of those, because the things that people have been doing in the market now are not cutting it, or like the things you used to be able to get away with aren't cutting it as much. So on the volume side, if you're sending 10, 20, 50 emails a day, it's just not cutting it. There's 300 billion emails sent daily to like across all the internet. And most of you guys during the webinar, there's probably hundreds of thousands of emails that have gotten sent out. There's all kinds of activity going on. So standing out, getting a ton of volume out is number one, a key trend that I see. If you want to be successful, you have to get in front of a lot of eyes. It's plain and simple. The second thing, I would say, yeah, in terms of trigger-based campaigns, finding ways to seem more human is 100% worth it. A big trend that's coming on now is a lot of people know their emails are automated. It's not a new thing. Like they've gotten hundreds of cold emails at this point. They understand that some automation is going on. Any way that you can segment your lead list, use AI personalization, use tools like Clay to segment, make really targeted campaigns, make trigger-based campaigns, really going to help you. If you can get that emotion where people get an email and they're like, I'm not sure if this was automated or sent by a human, that means that their reply rates are going to be a lot higher because they're going to feel obligated to reply. So that's on the trigger side. And then, talking about that, and then lead magnets. Yeah, if there's a sea of people pitching the same stuff, saying, hey, get on a call. I want your time. I want your money. If you can be the one guy or girl out there who's saying, hey, I'm more than happy to do something for free to prove my worth, you're going to get a significant amount more replies. And that's ultimately what causes like a big driving results for a lot of our clients, is just figuring out what we can give first instead of saying, hey, can I take 30 minutes of your time and give you nothing in return? So I would say those are the big trends. People are becoming more aware of cold email. Most people know your emails are automated. It's just about providing value first, giving a lead magnet, getting in front of a lot of people so that you can, find the person who has the right place, the right time, the need, the demand. And then also having really segmented campaigns so you can invoke that sense of like, wow, this guy actually might have written this email out, even though you might have sent it out to, hundreds or thousands of people.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense, Matt. Cool, folks. Before we get started with asking Matt the questions, yeah, go for it.
Can I just one question? I think it was asked like 10 times, so I just want to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
Matt, unsubscribe links. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I think
where are we at?
So links wise, I obviously not a lawyer, follow the compliance laws of your country, not gonna say do stuff that is illegal. I would say if you're gonna use I'd recommend that you do opt-outs. If you're gonna do opt-outs, text-based opt-outs, I like them more. They're, at least in the US from the literature I've read, they are compliant. As long as you're giving a clear way that someone can opt out, it works better. So I like something along the lines of, P.S. if you don't want to hear from me, just let me know and I'll remove you or I'll stop emailing you. Or, hey, disclaimer, if you don't want to receive more emails, respond no thanks. Something to that effect. It gets the job done, allows you to avoid sending the link, which, in some cases can harm your deliverability, and allows you to still stay compliant and do the right thing. So I would say staying compliant, doing the right thing, which I 100% recommend, I would say use text-based opt-outs for that. But also one caveat too, I don't know GDPR, I don't know European laws. I know that some stuff is a little bit different there. You might need an unsub link. So obviously if you're in Europe or if that's part of your compliance laws, that's above it. I should say there's lead list, deliverability, copy, and then there's also not breaking the law. So that's probably about that a little more, but yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Folks, before we get started, the process is simple. On the bottom right hand side, there is something called as reactions. Click on that and you'll have Andy is always ready with it, but yeah, just click on the raise hand feature. We'll call out your name. You get to ask one question to Matt in order to be fair to everybody else who wants to ask their questions. For everybody who's posted their questions on the chat, please raise your hands. This is your opportunity to ask Matt your questions. You will not get this opportunity again. So please go for it. While that has been said, Andy, go for it.
Hey, Matt, Vaiva, Swapnil, thank you very much for this awesome office hour. So, Matt, I have just one question. Have you ever tested like longer warm-up times instead of 14 days, let's say 21 or even a whole month?
Yeah, so personally, I haven't tested it. This is the tricky part with cold emails. I wish that Google and Microsoft, of course, they would never do it, is just publish guidelines like, okay, here is the best way that you can have the most longevity with your email accounts. You're going to see the most like highest inbox rate. I've talked to deliverability consultants. I've talked to a couple of guys that I would say there's multiple approaches people do cold email. There's people I know who rip cold email straight out the gate, no warm up, no nothing. I know there's a lot of people who do the 14-day stuff, and I know people who warm up for a month plus, month and a half, and I've seen a few people recommend that as well. I haven't personally run that split test. I have talked to other people who I've talked to someone who swears by, or a company actually that swears by warming up your emails for a month, month and a half. And they claim that you can have more longevity and you can send more emails from the accounts per day. However, I personally haven't run that split test, so I'm not entirely sure. I see merit to it though, because I know there's some blacklists like Spam Eating Monkey that might throw your any fresh domain on a blacklist for the first 30 days just because it's a new registered domain. I think they do like a 7-day, 14-day, and 30-day. So it would make sense that like prolonging the period from whenever you buy the domain to whenever you're sending and increasing the reputation would likely yield better results. Like what we do though is we just do 14 days. We've seen it work well, and especially from an agency perspective, we do that mainly because if we had to tell our clients, like a lot of clients get antsy after waiting 14 days to go live. Having them wait another month after that is it just is kind of tough from our perspective. But I would say it's worth a split test if you want to give it a shot and see the results that you're getting there. But we've also not seen really much of any issues from the 14-day warm up that we do.
Got it. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. We've got Anirudh next.
Good job with the name. Hey, Matt. Good to speak to you. And yeah, thanks a lot for the great advice. First of all, been really helpful here. Kind of wanted to understand. Not gonna take names. If anyone promises you they can do 200 to 250 emails from one domain, one email ID, and they can make sure deliverability rates kind of stay good. And Apollo says like good 25% open rate. Would you trust? What's kind of your take on something like this?
Is it like a consultant saying that, or are you trusting like Apollo's analytics? Are you saying that like you're just skeptical of being able to send?
Analytics are from Apollo, and I'm using someone XYZ, for example, to technically set up the domain infrastructure and make sure deliverability is good.
Sure. Yeah, so I would say I like a lot of the stuff with deliverability, it's tough again because Google and Microsoft don't publish. They don't say, hey, here's how you get around their spam filters, here's how everything works. So I would say like I'm honestly pretty open-minded compared to a lot of guys I talk to where it's like, no, you can only run cold email this one specific way. Like clearly they have an algorithm. Clearly there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to determine deliverability. And I know some people that swear by sending 100 cold emails a day from one inbox, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
I personally like to send, 25 emails a day from a singular inbox. And I know other people that go on the lower side of caution. So I would say like, assuming that Apollo's KPIs aren't lying to you, if you're happy with the results and things are going well and there is alignment there, then I guess there's no reason.
So sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, reply rates are low, so that's the reason why I'm even bringing up this question.
Reply rates are down, you said?
1%, like it's just at 1.04.
Yeah, so I would say like that's where I'd come in and say, okay, well, we run campaigns, we run all of our clients at 25 inbox or 25 cold emails per day per inbox. And we see reply rates anywhere from 3% or like, I would say whenever we start seeing like 2 or less, then that's like below KPI. But we see the healthy accounts we're running 3% up to like 30% on campaigns. It depends on a lot of factors. If your copy is better, you're obviously going to see higher response rates. But like our average is probably around like 5 to 10% on client campaigns.
And how much of that is out of, sorry for the follow-up, but like how much is out of office and like, change in email?
That's a good question. I actually don't have those numbers. Like, what is the percentage breakdown by out of office or change of email? I know we've run campaigns where we exclude out of office and we still see those higher numbers. And a lot of times, I know that does play like a somewhat significant factor. But whenever we calculate reply rate, we calculate it on just like a raw reply rate, not excluding out of office.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks, Anirudh. Cool. I don't know how to pronounce your name. M. Beckett. Sorry.
Beckett. Just go with Beckett.
Yeah, Beckett. Go for it.
Sorry, I was muted. Thanks, Matt. As an agency, how do you manage reporting with your clients? I mean, do you connect with Smartlead's API at all? Also, if you're booking in appointments on behalf of somebody else, do you try to get your clients to stick with one sort of calendar? And how do you track if somebody's actually made the appointment? Do you share demo links or something like that? Yeah, it would be interesting to hear your sort of tech stack and how that works.
Yeah, so I would say for, again, tech stack on an agency level, there's a lot of ways you could go with it. I love Airtable. Airtable is like the backbone database. We do a lot of stuff with Airtable. Airtable, Make, Zapier, all those together, we can do like a lot of really fun stuff. Specifically with reporting, with Smartlead, Smartlead's API is super powerful, allows us to draw data in a really very clean way and segment that by client. So on a weekly basis, we have automations fire off via Smartlead APIs that pulls all the stuff into Airtable. So the data that we collect for our clients is emails sent, emails replied, positive replies, which is kind of subjective, but it's reported by our inbox manager. So it's anything that would require us to do further follow-up and response, and then meeting books. So those are the 4 main KPIs. And I think for clients, that's really all they care about is, are we still sending out enough emails? People are responding to them, and how many meetings are we booking? So those are the 4 KPIs: sends, replies, positive replies, and meetings booked that we report to on a client weekly basis. And then we also give them project updates. So like, hey, this week we did this. Next week we're looking to do this. These are the trends I'm seeing in your campaign. Have a great weekend. So that's the reporting process on an agency level. I would definitely recommend hiring an Airtable automations consultant if you want to get that automated, because if we had to do that manually weekly, like that would be a lot of time. So that was the first question. What were the other 2 follow-ups? I think you asked about appointments.
Managing sort of appointments that you're making on behalf of somebody else.
Yeah, so how we manage that is our clients, we request that they give us a calendar link. We don't actually have a standardized process for building it out for them, because some of our clients like Cal.com, some of our clients use HubSpot, some of our clients use Calendly. So we just ask our client, hey, provide a calendar link. If they don't have one, we'll make it for them. And then whenever we book in the calls, after we book in the calls, we cross-check the availability, we coordinate with the client. And then after we book the calls, we forward the email chain over to the client. We send them a notification. Hey, we just booked a meeting. Here's the lead details. And then what we also do is as part of our Airtable automation stuff, we log it on our end. And then we send a notification to the client at the time of the meeting. So let's say we schedule the meeting for Tuesday at 3 p.m. On Tuesday at 3 p.m., the client gets a notification saying, hey, how did the meeting go? Did they show? Did they no show? Please provide us feedback. So if the client presses no show, we can immediately follow up and get that data right away. If they show and the meeting is great, they can leave comments and notes there. If they say, hey, the meeting is terrible, we have to adjust the targeting, then we also get that feedback right away. So we have automations kind of trigger off and ping the client like, hey, at the time of the call, what happened, so that they can provide feedback there.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Thanks, Beckett. We've got Emiliano next.
Hello. How is everyone?
How you doing?
Good stuff. Very informative call. I'll keep it short. Does underlined bolded text as well as digital signature business cards affect deliverability?
Underline bolded text, I don't actually use it in any of my emails, because I feel like whenever going back to like sending your emails out and looking human, I think most people in like typical conversations don't use it very often, which is why I don't use it. I don't believe it affects deliverability, because it's still, you're not like adding links, images, any of the normal vibe off can jump in.
Yeah, I can just jump in to help really quickly. Yes, it's not links, etc., and detrimental, but it is HTML in the end. So
there you go.
Depending on some categorization engines, they will just see, oh, there's HTML, so I'm gonna just consider it to be crappy. So yeah, but to Matt's point, don't put bold letters in emails. That's
Okay,
you might think you're grabbing their attention, but it's just gonna look more yucky.
Right.
I'm glad you jumped in, because if it's HTML, then you don't want it. So I would say don't do it, just for the sake of also, like, even if it didn't have any weight or baggage, it's just like if I'm gonna think in the context of, if I'm going to send an email friend to friend, am I going to talk like that? And if you're not going to talk like that friend to friend, then you don't want to talk about that at scale with your emails.
Right.
And when you say digital business card, I assume that includes some sort of link or image that links to somewhere else. Am I correct there? Or what do you
no
mean by
link
digital?
there. It would just be it's just a little digital, just a business card. There's no link. It would just be that little image as a digital
Yeah.
signature.
If it's an image, I would say, again, avoid any links, images, open rate tracking, any sort of HTML stuff. That's all baggage. I would say that you don't really want in your emails. So if you can avoid that at all costs, I would 100% recommend not doing that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. We've got Yusuf next. Go for it, Yusuf.
Yep. Everyone is doing great. I hope so. So my question is, like, what do you think of IT services and cybersecurity niche? I'm kind of new. I just got my client a month or 2 months ago. I sent like 20,000 emails, but kind of like I get only 5 positive responses out of 20,000 email. And when I ask people, like, it's kind of like demand capture offer. They'll say me like send a lot of volume, but it can get a lot expensive with the inboxes. What do you think about these niches? Like, do you think, and what is your approach to getting results in this niche if it's a good niche?
Yeah. Couple of things. First thing I'll say, the big thing I would say is, number one, niche. There's niche and then there's offer. Offer supersedes niche. If there are people I would say as a whole, people categorize IT and cybersecurity niches as tougher, which I would agree with. But within IT and cybersecurity, there's probably people with really, really great offers, really, really great targeting and whatnot that you can play around with. So I wouldn't write off the niche entirely, but I would say on average, it is a harder niche. Talking about how to make it successful, because I can speak to this. I used to work in IT. My first client was actually my old boss, and they are an IT client. We've been working with them for almost 2 years now. I would say, going back to the 3 things that make a successful campaign, either you need to be saying tons of volume, which it sounds like you're doing. That's one approach. The next thing is a trigger-based campaign. So if they're part of a chamber of commerce, if there's some sort of like group or niche or trigger or something, it's like, hey, I noticed you put a job post out for IT staff. Like, have you considered working with an MSP instead? Hey, I saw you have an RFP for, penetration testing. Would you be interested in working with if you can find any of those triggers that show intent, that is another great way to run a campaign. And then the third thing is any sort of free lead magnet. If you make something that's hard to turn down, a really good offer, whether that's like, hey, we can do I would say a free audit is a little tricky, because audit, a lot of people equate with sales call, but if there's something that you can provide tangible value for that a company would want, that's also going to skyrocket your response rates, your interest rates, and ultimately help you close more deals.
Got it. Do you think 2 weeks free trial is a lead magnet or like short document?
Yeah. Just to be, we'll let this go through, but just to be, there's a lot of people waiting, so we'll just keep the question.
I'll go super quick. Okay. 2-week lead or 2-week free trial. Yes, it's a lead magnet. I would split test different lead magnets to see if that's the best one for this client.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Cool. We've got Rishabh next. Go for it, Rishabh.
Yep. Thanks, Swapnil. Hi, Matt. Yeah, so really love the point about, talking to, how you talk to a friend of friend, right? So that's a great insight. But my question was more around, how do you tackle domain, how do you discard domains and how do you get new domains? So how do you decide? So if you buy domains in January, then how many months do you typically run them? And then what do you do with those domains once you think that the response rate has dropped down? Do you still run those on like old leads? Or do you just discard them altogether because it's like a balance between the cost for them and then, still running them? And then obviously lead and personalization is also cost, right? So how do you balance that? And then what is that typical time period? Is it 3 months, 6 months? Like, how do you see that?
So I would say there's no definite time period. You discard it whenever it's burned. If it's working great, which in the case of the IT client I mentioned before, we've been running the same inboxes for 2 years now. No issues. On the other hand, we've had clients where 2 months in, maybe and there's a lot of reasons why deliverability can go bad. If the copy isn't resonating, if their offer is not good and people mark it as spam, it burns the domain, we discard it. So the way that we choose discarding emails or not is whenever the deliverability takes a hit. How do we measure that? Deliverability testing softwares and seeing a decline in KPIs. And whenever that time comes, we just kill the inbox, we throw it all away and start completely fresh. The way I think about it again is like, if you're a lead gen agency, you're charging pay per call. We're talking about $300 a call, $200 a call. versus, saving your $12 for a domain. It's like, I would take that every time. The domains, inboxes, all this stuff is super, super cheap relative to the deal sizes we're talking about closing, the opportunity cost of all the money you could be making. So whenever we're presenting those opportunities, I always take the money hit, which, it's a couple $100, but it's going to help you make hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I would take that every time. Just throw it all out, start completely fresh, and do the right thing.
Just like 5 more seconds on that. So is it like typically 3 months, 6 months? Like how do you, like obviously performance goes down. Normally, what's the time like period that you see?
It varies. There's no definite timeline. Some clients it's infinite. Other clients it's could be a couple months in. Just depends on their offer. If you want to give a ballpark number, it could be, let's just say 7 months. But I don't really think that's like the way that you should look at it. Yeah.
Sure. No, helps. Thanks.
Cool.
Let's move to the next. We've got Anjan. Sorry.
Wait, everyone, hold on. I'm trying to mute. I can't. Who's speaking?
Mohammed Naeem.
Mohammed, yeah, got it. Mute him. All right, cool.
Please mute yourself, please.
Hi guys, everything is going good. Yeah, so Matt, my question is, I'm running a recruitment offer for an agency, and they want to place SDRs. So I tried to put a lead magnet, it's resume, like, hey, we have a couple of resumes based upon your job descriptions. Do you want to have a look at it? But it didn't work out. So what kind of lead magnet we can try out in this scenario?
So yeah, for this client, we ran a client SDR placement agency. We booked them 60 meetings in 60 days. How did we make that work? Their offer was really killer. So they had commission only SDRs, which is, very, very good offer. So I would say there's a couple ways you can do it. One, going back to the 3 things, volume, running a ton of volume, intent. If you can scrape people that are actively hiring, that's a good intent pool. Another thing is if they're following something that indicates that they, need an SDR. In terms of lead magnets, resume, hey, I have a couple resumes. You could even frame it as, hey, I have a couple of people that are interested and ready to start working for you. Would you be interested in seeing their resume? So kind of the positioning around that. Another thing you could do is, hey, would you be, it's kind of outside of recruitment at that point, but you could add a couple of other, like, resumes could be one thing, but you could, even dive into cold calling scripts or something else. Like, hey, would you be interested in seeing some of their past performance? That could be another way to frame it. Or you could tie something into the actual cold calling SDR process, like scripts, leads that might be outside the purview of the recruitment agency. But I would also test like other things that you can kind of give away for free that they would see inherent value in. Or like, hey, we can run a free job post for you, or hey, we can, shoot 50 applicants your way. Would you be interested in seeing some of them? So there's a couple ways to position it. If I'm sure if I sat down and thought about for like 15 more minutes, I could come up with something better, but that's just on the spot. Couple ideas that came to mind.
I need to find something that has some sort of value.
Yeah, something that someone would pay for, ideally. That's like the best thing. Like it's not your, hey, here's our 30-page hiring PDF, because a lot of people don't want that. Like you want to sell something that they're like, wow, I actually need this. And resumes, I think that's a pretty good call to action. I've seen good results with that across other recruitment offers. I'd also check out your targeting and other stuff, but yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Anjan. We've got James next. James, go for it, man. Love your background, by the way.
Oh, thanks. That's my race car. Yeah, I used to race. But anyway, question I have for you, Matt. So I'm kind of new to this. I sent out approximately about 1,000 emails right now. I get about 732 clicks, and I know you said don't add links, which is probably bad. Could that be a script issue, or because what I'm doing is my client he does like chat bots, so I'm sending out a promotional email to right now. I'll give you the niche. It's roofing companies. I'm sure that's probably a bad niche, but he wanted me to send out to all. So I scraped everything, got the email addresses. I'm sending out a script to these companies, these roofing companies, say, hey, if you want to get guys quicker, like customers quicker for like booking like estimates and things like that, here's my chatbot kind of thing. Just kind of looking at, like I said, I'm new to all this, so any information you can give me would be great.
Yeah, a couple of things. So I'd say It depends on what you're doing. I haven't run campaigns where like the call to action is like check out this link or whatever. Again, deliverability reasons, there's a lot of stuff going on there. We typically do like book a call funnels, like, hey, you interested in chatting? And then we set them up with a sales rep. To me, from the numbers you said, I haven't run a campaign where you're using something like that as a direct CTA. If you're getting 700 link clicks out of 1,000 emails, to me, that sounds like a win. I don't know how a lot of the link
only
clicks.
thing is nobody's selling, nobody's buying. That's the thing.
Exactly, right? So that's why we do like push to call. We're like, hey, do you want to get on a call so we can discuss this further? Because most people aren't going to take, like, there's a lot of layers where someone like clicks, then they have to be interested, they probably have objections, and then they buy, which is why we typically do the sales call process. So that's why I can't speak directly to those link click campaigns because I haven't run them. But I would recommend just doing a direct to call type thing. And then if you're seeing numbers where it's like one call booked for every few hundred prospects or every 1,000, 2,000 emails, I would say that's good. And then you just continue to scale from there.
All right. Thank you much.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Yep.
I think you're muted, Swap now.
Thanks, James. Sorry for that. We've got Naufal next. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, that's all good. Cheers. Hey guys. So Matt, I'm thinking of pivoting to a different niche. What would be like your process of targeting a different niche in terms of like maybe like market research? Would you have to create like a tailored custom landing page for that specific industry? So you're just keen to hear like what would be your process for kind of targeting a new niche?
I would say keep it general. You'd be there's definitely, and I was under the impression too, where it's like, oh, if you're switching niches, you have to switch your landing page, switch your branding, a lot of stuff. Like, I would say probably 70% of the people you send emails to don't even check your website. But dude, you're gonna, and if you've been running cold emails for yourself, you know that you're gonna get on calls with people and they're like, I forgot what you even said in the email. I just remembered you said something about lead gen, right? I would say from an agency, this is more of like a business level perspective. I would take speed any day over like, hey, let me obsess about this landing page and do it. Like, speed, try a new offer, run it. You could like just run it directly to your normal landing page, make your landing page more generic. And then, figure it out from there rather than holding off and saying, hey, I need to build a new landing page. I need to redo my socials. I need to redo all this stuff. Like, take the imperfect action. If it starts to work, then go ahead and optimize all your stuff better to optimize for that, instead of like, having the mindset of, hey, I'm going to wait to have all this stuff set up before I launch, because you're just going to waste a lot of time. And maybe the niche that you spent, a week and a half, 2 weeks building a new landing page for isn't better either. So I would just take the imperfect action, run the stuff. I've seen people run cold email campaigns with domains that, like, I've even run cold email campaigns for some of my clients with my domain, my name, my branding, and then direct them to my client's offer. And it performed almost identical, or actually performed slightly better than us running it with the client's name, branding, offer, and stuff, whatever. It just goes to show, just run the volume, get on the calls, and then if it looks good, then you can optimize the stuff from there.
Appreciate it. And then with like market research, what's your process around like understanding like the lingos and for that industry, or GPT or anything else?
GPT, get on the calls, talk to the people.
All right, cool. Cheers, man.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Hey, sorry for chiming in. Can I add something to that?
Who's that? Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me?
It's probably best if you want to drop it into the chat, man. There's a whole bunch of people waiting, just to be respectful of everyone else's time. I hope you don't mind.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. Cheers. Thanks all. All right, Swapnil, on to you.
Cool, folks. In the interest of time, we've got another 10 minutes to spare. Unless and until Matt, will you be there for like maybe more than 10 minutes?
I can run over. I don't have a hard cut. We can run over if you guys
we
can
entertain probably more than 5-6 questions. So we've got Thomas next. Thomas, go for it.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this brief, but just to kind of explain the context, I am starting in outbound engine. I'm also doing a ton of cold calls day to day. So really trying to scale the engine as fast as possible, reduce time to value, get out to as many leads as possible. My question though is like, how are you managing the transition from your warmed up accounts to launching the account? Because I understand that it's important to continually send daily warm-ups to monitor deliverability over time. But the goal of mine is to not toe the line of 50 emails a day, because I don't want to continually be flirting with the spam algorithm and continually have to trash domains, warm up new ones. So whenever you're launching new accounts, what does the mix of actual live emails you're sending to prospects and that daily warm up quantity of emails look like? Because the goal is to send anywhere from 25 to 35 live emails, and I don't really want to get close to 50, but just kind of wondering what you use on day to day.
I do 25 warm, 25 cold. This is after ramping up for 2 weeks. The way I look at inbox, like sending volumes, is the way that you'd look at a speed limit, except whenever you're driving down the cold email road, you don't see what the speed limit sign is. Google and Microsoft aren't saying, hey, you can go 80 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, whatever. In the case of this, if you're driving down your car and you're going 25 miles an hour, there's very little chance you're going to get pulled over, because there's, that's just how it is. It's like low sending. Versus if you send 50, 100 emails a day, even though, you don't know what they're going to pull you over for, what they're going to deem as like a too high sending volume, it's probably less safe, and it's probably going to cause more issues in the long run, which is why I say 25 cold, 25 warm it up for 14 days. That's about as safe as it can get while you're still maintaining a reasonable level of sanity. In a perfect world, you can make a zillion email accounts, send one cold email a day, and that would be the safest thing, but that's just not practical. So I would do like 25 warm, 25 cold, wait for 14 days, follow all the best practices, and that's, I would say, like the best result you get.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks, Thomas. We've got Sam next.
Hey man, quick question. So me being starting out in the cold email lead gen space, I was just wondering, Matt, what would you recommend? Because it's getting increasingly competitive. What would you recommend to start to stand out? Or to frame my question differently, if you were to start over again, what would you do differently?
From a lead gen perspective, 3 things I said earlier: send a ton of volume, have a really good lead magnet, have really targeted audiences. That'll give you the best result on the campaigns. From a business level, if I could go back in time, I would say join coaching programs, network with a lot of people, and make sure you're putting in like actual working hours. Like a lot of the issues of people when they're starting out is like, I'm putting all this effort in, I'm not seeing results, but really they're just consuming content. I would say if you're going to go out and consume content, go pay, get in front of the right people, learn from the right people. It's going to shortcut. The closest thing to a shortcut is paying for consulting, because you can learn from someone who is 2 years, 5 years ahead of you. And that's what I did. I joined Client Ascension coaching program. I am affiliated with them, not saying that you should join them by any measure if that's not what you want to do. I would say find a coaching program you do like, though. Find someone you do trust, pay for consulting, do something like that. There's a bunch of really good ones out there. You can talk and network to other people in the Smartlead community, and then just put in the hours. That's really the 2 things that it comes down to.
Yep. Okay, makes sense. Thank you, man.
Awesome.
Thank you. We've got Bruce next.
Hey, thanks. This has been really marvelous. I appreciate it. Just 2 really quick things. So if you're not going to put any links, we have a really great offer, a free offer, but we've got to give them a link to that free offer. So how are you handling that? And then these days, where are you buying your Microsoft inboxes from?
Yeah, for sure. So links, the way I approach it is, and we're doing this for Smartlead campaigns, like, hey, if they're interested and they want to start a free trial, we send them the link after they say they're interested, right? So you don't want to send links out to every single person in the world, because you're going to set off more spam filters, you're going to cause more issues. Whenever someone responds and you follow up with a link, the chance of you landing the inbox are a lot higher, because Vibov made a great video on how a lot of these spam filters work. Your reputation goes up a lot whenever someone responds to one of your emails, and if you respond in a thread, all these types of things make it, you're going to probably land in the inbox if you do it in a response rather than sending the link completely cold. And then what was your second follow-up question?
Just where your Microsoft inboxes,
Yeah.
Where are you buying them these days?
Yeah, I just do it straight from Microsoft. Sometimes I use a reseller, but I'd honestly rather do it from Microsoft. V, were you going to chime in?
Just in the volume, what are they charging you?
What's this for? What's the question?
I'm just curious in volume what you're paying, if I'm paying.
I pay $7.20 like the normal inbox.
Okay, gotcha.
Same. Like I don't get any discounts. Like you can
okay,
pay.
maybe they did. Okay, I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
You can only get discounts if you go through resellers. There's a bunch of resellers in the Slack community of ours. If you want to join, there's 1 or 2 people that we tend to recommend. But just join the Slack. You know who he is. I don't do it over here. But sweet. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Love the Slack channel, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers. Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. We've got Andrew next.
Yes, hi there. Hey, thank you, Matt, for taking the time today. No, very great information. So here's my situation, and I view it as kind of weird here. I'll make it quick, of course. So I worked with franchise consultants here in the US, so to try to help them get leads. So what's great about them is that they have a wide, broad audience they can go after, primarily corporate executives looking to exit corporate space to buy into a franchise. So that's great. So when I started their campaigns, after of course doing the proper warm up that you're supposed to, I was getting 70 to 80% open rates on the emails, and they were actually getting book calls. But then as 1 week or 2 weeks go by, I noticed just a significant dip. I mean, in the open rates and all that type of thing. And then I just started for a new client yesterday after I've done all the warm-ups. Again, using copy that, again, will resonate, nothing pushy or anything. And it's like the open rates are like 2 to 3% for that client. So I'm just wondering like what maybe could be some causes or things that maybe I can do on my end to maybe test out to see what could be the issue.
You said so you were getting 70 to 80% open rate. What's the KPI you said you're getting now? You said 2-3%. Is that reply rates?
Oh, I'm sorry. So for the one client that was the 70 to 80%, it's now down to like 45, 50%, or and even decreasing with that. And then the client, I'm sorry, that I just started out with yesterday and ran the campaigns for the first time after warm up, that was like the 4 to 5% open rate. I'm like, huh?
Yeah. So I would say a couple things. First, double check that you're using the custom domain tracking. Make sure that's set up in Smartlead. Second thing I would say is I don't even track open rates. The reason why, again, adds more back, like the way that it works, and V, you can speak to it. Maybe my understanding of it's not proper. It's that you put like a transparent pixel image inside the email, and then that whenever Google or Microsoft loads it, it fires off back to Smartlead, says, hey, this person opened it. It just adds more baggage to your emails, which causes deliverability to go down, which is why I don't recommend it. If you're like I was talking about before, if your KPIs are dropping, everything starts going down, I would just create fresh inboxes. But 40 to 50% open rate, I'd still say is within KPI. Yeah, I would just recommend turning off the open rate tracking and just following all the best practices I talked about earlier in the webinar.
Okay, sure. And then for the ones that were, though, for the one client of mine, that's the 4 to 5%, those were just brand new Google Workspace boxes that I just warmed up. So,
I would have to do like a full audit and see like the specific, it could be the lead list, it could be the bounce rates, it could be the targeting, could be, there could be so many things, but I would honestly have to do it on an individual basis. Shoot me a DM after the call, and I might be able to do it in a couple minutes.
Andrew, Matt runs an agency, so you can probably get some consulting work out of him. So it's worth it. Sweet. So we'll move on to the next.
Okay, so can I shoot you my email? I mean, if that's all right with you.
Just shoot me something in Slack. Go in the Smartlead Slack, and
we'll make this easier for you, Andrew. Are you part of our Smartlead Slack channel? If not, I've added the link on the chat. Join our Slack channel. You can DM Matt there directly with the context. So it'll be easier for you to get connected to Matt.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I'll join it right now. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Appreciate
it. Andrew. Cool. We've got Nico next. Nico, go for it, man.
Hey, hi. Yeah, I just want to ask a question that what's your recommended Microsoft resellers? I do believe I was answered by the owner, Mo. He recommended Mo. What's your thought about that?
I work with Mo. Mo does a great job, but I would say have a couple of resellers in your back pocket if you're going to use resellers. You never know what can happen. I work with Mo. Mo does a great job. I'd also say diversify your infrastructure a little bit across multiple people.
All right, that will be all for me. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right.
Lovely. We like these. Awesome.
Thanks, Nico.
So guys, to that question to answer. If you go through GoDaddy,
hold up.
You'll be able to buy Outlook accounts for like $2 a month.
Stanley.
If you buy the domain via GoDaddy.
All right, cool. Thank you, Stanley. Appreciate it.
Stanley, I'm really sorry about that, but like if you want, you can just drop it in the chat.
Definitely sorry about that, guys. But GoDaddy, okay? GoDaddy, $2 a month for Outlook accounts.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Stanley. Cool. We've got the last two questions for this. We've got Imran. Imran, go for it.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
All good, all good. How are you?
Very good. So basically, let's say I'm running a campaign, right? And my deliverability is really good, and it's for a web design offer, right? So what's like if you're getting low positive reply rates, do you tweak on the offer or do you tweak on the lead list? Because
both.
Both?
Yeah, so you need to split test both. I would recommend split testing both. So run same offer, different lead list, run different offer, same lead list. You can do multiple split tests. There's a lot like, yeah, going back, three things: volume, lead magnet, targeting slash like trigger pool. So you can test multiple of those. I would test test multiple things because you can't really know until you test. There's not going to be like one defined answer where it's like, hey, I'm not getting good response rates. Oh, it's 100% the lead list. It could be the offer, or maybe the offer's phenomenal. You just need to target a different persona. So I would just split test both and see if you can improve the results based on what you're currently getting.
I've like tested a few offers. It's just that it's harder to create new offers when I'm doing it for a client. You know what I mean? It's a bit hard, but
yeah, it is a bit hard. That's like a client comms thing. I would just work with your client, say, hey, I want to make sure in both of our interests that you're getting as many meetings as possible. We're getting as much interest. Brainstorm some ideas, pitch a couple ideas to them. And that's more of like a client comms, client relationship thing. And if you build a really good rapport, typically they'll be interested to hear what you have to say.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'll test that. Thank you very much, Matt.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Imran. Folks, last question for the day. Sorry, we're shooting a bit over the time, but Alexa.
Hi. Hi, Matt. So 2 questions for you. One, in terms of copy, what is your take on first liners?
First liners, I would say they don't make a huge difference unless they call out something that's directly relevant to your offer. So like obvious example, if I say, hey Vibov, notice your shirt is gray. I can't tell what colors. Hey Vibov, notice your shirt is gray. Do you want to work with my agency? It's like, that's not a good personalization. Yes, it's true, but it doesn't tie in with your offer. So like a good example of a good personalization, one-liner, first liner, whatever, is like, hey, I noticed you're in the cold email space. Would you be interested in working with an agency? Blah, blah, blah. So the best first liners tie in something about them with your offer. And so that's why I'd say like does the best. If you're just calling out something random or having some AI generated thing that doesn't have any context to your offer, what you're selling, I've seen like very little difference in results, if any. So that's what I'd say about first liners, is just make sure that they tie in with what your offer is actually selling and have some sort of relevance there.
Cool. Good insight. Also, when you get positive replies, do you send them the link to your website or you just send them a personalized video?
Say that one more time.
So when you get positive replies, do you just send them the link to your website, like maybe where your lead magnet is, or you just send them a personalized video, like separate from your website? Because I feel like sending them the website is just, it's a bit salesy, I think.
What I do whenever anyone positive replies, depends what your call to action is. If it's a lead magnet, then give them the lead magnet, but it's answering their question and then pushing for a call. So like, hey, you say, hey, would you be interested in getting more info? They say yes. You say, awesome, here's a little bit more info, blah, 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 blah. Would you be interested in a call time 1, time 2? If they don't respond, you keep pitching time 1, time 2. You don't want to have the sales conversation in the email because that's a losing battle every single time. Your objective is to get them on the phone as fast as possible so you can do the selling over a call. So at the end of all my response emails, it's always pitching a time. It's always trying to get them on the phone.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. And with that, we're done. Okay, we've got time for
we'll run one more. Let's run it. Danny.
Danny, go for it. You there, Danny?
Oh, Danny, you lose it. Danny, come on, man. We're waiting on you. Loads of pressure.
Oh,
You're muted.
can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hear you.
Yeah.
All right, I did it. Sorry, I'm driving. Don't worry, I've got my AirPods in. First off, email helped me sell our company, which is absolutely huge. We took it from 600 to 6,000 customers my last 2 years. I was not a founder in the company, but it has absolutely been instrumental in what we did. I started doing this. I still work for that company. I'm currently using MailForge as well as Smartlead. And then I started working with a couple extra clients on the side to help them with their lead generation. And what they are wanting to do is to be able to respond from a Gmail inbox to all of these replies out of Smartlead. I didn't know if that was going to hurt deliverability or impact anything if they are responding from Gmail versus responding out of Smartlead. And it was just curious, the best setup, the best way to forward those emails into Gmail and be able to reply from Gmail to those Smartlead replies from the campaigns.
Yeah, so a couple things. What I used to do, and I still have this set up for some clients, is I create a master inbox. I forward all the emails, let's say you have 20 inboxes, you forward it to one master inbox is what I call it. And then you can use that as a central place to reply. I've been using that for a lot of clients. Haven't seen any sort of like noticeable difference in deliverability. If they are really dead set on using Gmail for that, they can do that as well. But if you're using Smartlead, Smartlead has a white label feature. And so you can white label the master inbox or give them like a view or a portal where they can respond to, and it's only their stuff if you want to segment them out too. So those are a couple options. You can either forward all your emails to one Gmail inbox, designate that as their master inbox, and then have them respond from there. Or Smartlead also has the capability if you want to segment it off and do it from there too.
Appreciate that. So what are your thoughts on just continuing to use their primary Gmail inbox that they're already using and connecting them to that? Would that be a possibility?
I wouldn't use their primary inbox personally, just for like safety. I like having all my cold email stuff just segmented out. I think you're still probably fine if they use their personal inbox, but I would not recommend it because, I haven't run a test to see if that has any effect on the personal stuff. But I would go ahead, use one of the cold inboxes and make that their master inbox where they can reply everything from. I have a video on my YouTube channel. If you Google Matt Lucero or Matt Lucero master inbox, I have a video where I kind of explain the different approaches you can do there.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And with that, folks, we're done with this, officers. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on board, giving us your time and answering all those questions. This has by far been one of the most insightful sessions we've had and one of the most engaging ones because of our awesome audience, right? They've been asking all the right questions and we love you all for it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week for another Office Hours. Have a great day. Bye.
Catch up in the Slack channel. Goodbye.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. See you in Slack.
See you. Bye.